I bet you wish your dog had unshakable engagement. You know, the thing where they're off lead and a bird flies past, another dog appears, and they still check in with you. Or you're in a busy park and they're just listening to everything that you say. That is what I would call unshakable engagement. And it isn't created via luck either. It's created via a reliable system. And I want to show you exactly how to do that. So firstly, we need to establish what engagement actually is. Engagement is your dog is in tune with you, regardless of what's around them. And it isn't always eye contact either. And it isn't actually obedience, it's more of a connection between you and your dog. Off lead, they're going to choose to check in with you. They want to be with you, and it's the foundation for everything else, such as recall, loose lead, settling, pretty much everything. And without it, you are just managing a dog. But with it, you've got a partner. So the first step for building unshakable engagement with your dog is start where your dog can actually respond. The biggest mistake I see people make is going to the exact location where your dog struggles the most. Here's an analogy for you. Say you are a rugby player who plays rugby, obviously, and you're absolutely terrible at throwing a rugby ball. You're not going to tackle this, no pun intended, by going and doing more and more and more rugby games. What you're going to do is outside of those rugby games, you're going to practice in training. So in your training sessions, you get better at throwing that rugby ball. Therefore, then when you come back to your matches, you're going to smash it out of the park. And plus, because you're not in that match mindset of all the hustle and bustle of the crowd and all the other competing motivators, in your training sessions, you're probably going to focus on other things, such as your footwork, how you actually communicate by throwing the ball, and so on. And that works exactly the same for your dogs. If your dog struggles in the park, don't go and blooming take them to the park. You need to start in a low distraction environment where they can actually succeed. Get in the repetitions, build that reliability, not just for your dog, but for your own muscle memory. A lot of people seem to have this fixation on seeing your dog fail, and that's the essence of being able to know how to deal with it, when in reality, you should always be setting your dog up for success, not setting them up to fail. So the more you know exactly how to tackle that situation and deal with it appropriately, the better your sessions are going to go. If you go in there blind and don't necessarily know how you're going to tackle it, but just let them fail and figure it out when you get to it, that's the wrong approach, and it's just not going to work long term. Step 2 is incorporating rules and boundaries. Dogs need clarity on what's acceptable and what isn't. Rules create predictability, and predictability builds trust. Think of it like this. If your dog has just no rules and boundaries, in other contexts as well, by the way, such as like their at-home life, chances are, if your dog doesn't listen to you at home and you have all these little nitty-gritty issues, smallest minute of things, by the way, such as say, you know, you let your dog out into the garden for toilet, you recall them, they don't listen because they're sniffing some wee from the cat this morning, or they're too busy fixating on the birds that have just entered into the garden, and you're there saying, Fido, come on, Fido inside. What are you then having to resort to? Probably going up and picking up your treat bag, giving it a shake so the dog can come running, or you just neglect them altogether and think, whatever, they'll come back in 10 minutes. Those are the little nitty-gritty things that you need to be making sure that you're incorporating rules and boundaries. If you've got a dog that's likely to do that, you need to do something about that dog rehearsing that behavior in that environment. Step 3 is clarity and consistency. You need to be clear about what you want. And here's a really, really important one: be consistent on how you actually reward your dog as well. Don't one day give them like the best reward possible and then the next day only give them a really half-arsed reward, because dogs learn through association, meaning if you are attacking it this way and you set them up for a false positive, one day it's great, the next it's not, chances are the next time that you come and do that, the dog's going to be like, well, I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze, so I'm just going to go ahead and ignore you. You need to not give your dog mixed signals. And step 4 is something that I like to call reward events. So instead of just giving your dog a piece of food where it's hand in treat pouch to reward dog, I like to add a little bit of spice in there, because this will make anything that you're working on 10 times stronger, because you're motivating your dog in a way they probably haven't been motivated before, and you become the source of good. good stuff. And step 5 is the actual practicality of it, which you're going to see in a little while. And the reason I like this so much is it's a great way in which you can connect with your dog. You instantly become the most motivating thing in the environment that you're in. Your dog is going to know what to expect, and you're going to be setting them up for the utmost success. And this is going to build reliability through repetition, which dogs absolutely thrive on. There's probably people out there that use like 10 to 15 different engagement exercises, and your chances are you're just stretching your dog and you too thin. Stick to 1 to 2 that work really, really well, and just use those for building engagement with your dog. Now, one thing that I want to mention before I jump into this is the 3 environment rule. You have to start, and this goes for absolutely anything in training, in the lowest distraction environment. Now, that might differ dog to dog, but a couple of examples might be your back garden, your front garden, a quiet car park, what I would describe as a concrete box pretty much. It's somewhere where you know your dog is going to be very reliable, like my main man Sid here. And what you are going to do is you're only going to level up your environment around your dog when you've achieved what I like to call the 85% rule. When your dog is being 85% reliable, meaning you've got a steady stream of consistent repetitions, yeah, you might need to help them out here and there, but it's pretty much consistent most of the time. That gives you a clear indication that you are ready to then move on to the next environment. This is commonly where I see a lot of people fail, because they will rush the process. You'll have a couple of repetitions, it'll go super, super well, and you're like, oh, mint, amazing. I'm gonna take my dog to the middle of a town centre and expect them to replicate exactly the same thing they just have done in this low distraction environment. They fail, what do you think? Oh, flipping heck, we're back to square one, and you just repeat the process, or you just go and try 1,000,001 other different things. That is not what we are going to do. So your medium examples would be somewhere where there are, you know, the odd little bit of distraction and something there that's going to get your dog to kind of think, ooh, that's a little bit interesting, but you can still get clarity and communication through to them effectively. And your busy environments, aka your hard environments, would be places like a park on a weekend where it's just rife with other people and dogs. Some could even say that this environment is hard for some of your dogs if they're quite prey motivated, but you're basically targeting those areas where your dog, or you know, that is going to be a real struggle point. The biggest thing to note here is that you do not rush the process. Super important with this one. Rushing sets the dog up to fail. And although failure is feedback, too much of it is just going to completely crumple and break your training down. And then you're probably going to get annoyed, and then it's all going to go to shit, yada, yada, yada. We don't want to hear it. Slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. That is how you're going to build unshakable engagement. Now, I've got 3 mistakes I definitely don't want you to make. Number 1 is like what I've previously just mentioned, trying to get too much of a response out of your dog in a hard environment. If you're finding that you're in an environment and you just cannot gather a response from your dog, track back a little bit and go back to the previous environment that you were just in. Number 2, and this is something that you might find that you're doing through being in too much of a hard environment, and that is over pestering your dog. Realistically, this should be something that you ask your dog once and for all is all you need. If you're constantly pestering them and pestering them and pestering them with something that they actually don't necessarily understand the concepts of in the first place, that is a fast track way to detriment to your relationship with your dog. Constantly calling their name is just going to piss them off more. And I would probably hazard a guess as to say that somewhere along the lines, I'm looking at you probably have used your dog's name as a punishment, meaning it's already off to a negative. Pestering your dog is just going to kill your engagement, so please avoid doing so. And mistake number 3 is just not being clear enough. Your dog may not understand what you want simply because you're just not asking it in a way in which they understand. Or you could just be rewarding the wrong behavior. So being clear, and I find this helps, is if you are just really slow with what you're doing with your dog. There is no rush. There is no gun to your head being like, you must train this dog in this amount of time, otherwise I'm going to shoot you. Take your time. Enjoy the process with your dog. It's you and them in this moment. That's how you're really going to get through to them and build more of a relationship and that rock solid engagement. Right, so into the demonstration. So, a couple of things to note straight off the bat. is obviously you can see Reggie is completely off lead. That's because he's reliable and I can trust him in this environment to not piss off and go and terrorize the neighborhood. If your dog is that dog that goes and does that, make sure you do this exercise on a long line. This is also going to help when I mentioned about one of the points earlier in regards to not pestering your dog. Utilize your lead, say it once. If the dog does not follow on, use your lead to help them and guide them. And you also might be thinking, that is an absolute wonderful, picturesque view. I mean, wow, just look at that view. I get it, yeah, it's nice. Your dog probably is not going to be able to cope in an environment like this. Reggie does have quite a lot of water drive, so this is actually probably quite difficult for him. But we're going to get on with the session anyway, because I know he can cope and he can listen in this environment. So, what we are going to do, you are going to recall your dog, okay? You're going to recall your dog. Once they, of course, obviously listen to the recall, you're then going to say your marker. In this instance, it is my terminal marker, which is yes, behavior finished, as you see. So when I say yes, I'm going to reach for my rewards, gather around about probably a couple of bits of food in your hand, enough for you to be able to move on to this next exercise. Then what you're going to do is once you've said your marker, you come down to your dog, you're going to pay, freeze, and pay some more. Hopefully I'm in frame there. I'm not an expert when it comes to technology, so we're hoping for the best. Once your dog's finished that last bit of kibble that you've given them, or that last bit of treat or whatever it is that you've got, get another piece and just toss it off. Chuck it off into just where you are in the environment to obviously distract them. So they're going to go off and get that piece. That then gives you the opportunity to move somewhere else. You're then in a different location whilst they're searching for that little bit of food. That is then your opportunity to go and do another repetition. So when you then say, again, Reggie, come, when he comes to me, terminal marker, pay, and away we go. I'm now going to show you what that looks like. Got him here. As you can see already, he's got that laser focused engagement. I'm going to kick it off first of all with just a yes. I'm going to reach for my reward. I'm going to pay, pause, pay. Bit of kibble in my hand, toss it over there. Reggie, come. Yes. Pay, kibble in my hand, toss it over there. Reggie, come. Yes. Mixing it up each time. Pay, pause, pay, tossing some more kibble over there. Reggie, come. Yes. Notice what's happening is like flipping heck. He's like, it's almost like he's frantically running out to get the piece of kibble to then get back to me as quickly as possible, because he really likes this sequence, because it's new, it's engaging, it's interesting for him, because he's like, I don't know how many blooming pieces of food I'm going to get. It's like, you know, say you were to go to blooming Vegas or something, I'm a bit ballsy like, but you were to go to Vegas and you were to go on one of the slot machines and you won, I don't know, say £1, and you're like, oh, fucking £1, you really? You serious? And then you pull it again and you win £500, likely so. What are you going to do? Well, I'm going to fucking sit here all day and I'm just going to keep pulling this thing and keep getting some money. We know it's not always going to be as simple as that, by the way. Don't gamble, it's bad. But anyway, as you saw there, as I was doing my repetitions, because I was mixing it up each time, maybe he got 1 piece, maybe he got 2 pieces, maybe he got 3 pieces, maybe he just got the 1 piece, because it's a complete guessing game every single time that he does it. He's like racing his way back to me as quickly as possible because he finds it fun and interesting. It's engaging for him, it's different. So many of you out there, when it comes to paying your dog, will just do the bog standard boring, yes, transactional reward, pay your dog. Yeah, your dog got rewarded, but they're probably just thinking, well, is that it? Like, really? Is that all I'm going to get? And then you might want to try and pair that with, say, there's an animal over there or a pheasant of some description, and you try and do exactly the same thing. Your dog's thinking, is the juice really worth the squeeze? Probably not, because if you're just going to go for that bog standard, boring terminal marker reward, your dog's just going to switch off and think, yeah, stuff this, what's the point? Reward events do not need to be the same every single time. We've obviously established that, right? With regards to paying the dog, paying the dog, paying the dog. There are other things that you can do. Here are a couple of other examples of some reward events. So I've got my dog here. As you can see already from just that little exercise alone, he's like laser focused. So say if I wanted to just mix it up a little bit, you don't have to do just the dispensing of food every single time. Another one that I like to do, not so much with this dog though, because he's an absolute fucking land shark with his teeth. Reggie, come. Yes, is the lure event. So it's where you've got your dog, got them with some food here, getting them to follow the food, and then you pay them with it. So you're kind of essentially luring them around, maneuvering them around. There's no real sort of like, you know, I'm not trying to get the dog into a desirable position by no means. All I'm simply doing is getting them to just follow the food, keep that intensity flowing before I give them access to it. Similarly to if your dog was chasing a squirrel, which is why I find a lot of dogs tend to stick to this one, because it builds a little bit more intensity for them to want to perform. For most of you spaniel owners out there, you're obviously going to gravitate more towards this one because it's going to incorporate a little bit of hunting into it. So as I've got my dog, Reggie, come. As he comes to me, when I say yes, I reach for a handful of rewards and I scatter it out on the floor. This can help massively for just bringing their arousal levels down, giving them a little bit of a focal point, and it draws them to you because you provide them with value. So that is how you're going to go about building your unshakable engagement with your dog. Remember, just a couple of key takeaways there. Make sure your dog is on a long line. Make sure your dog is in an environment where they're able to actually practically implement this effectively. Do not move on until you've got your 85% reliability. And then lastly, have fun with your dog. It's just you and them out here. Forget about everything else around you. Just enjoy time, enjoy company with your dog. They only have around about 12 summers, you know, guys. So realistically, give them the best life that you physically can. And by doing little things like this is the sort of stuff that's going to get you to build more of a relationship. This is the stuff that's going to laser focus their engagement and see you as more of a valuable asset to them.